Going to go live right now.
Yeah, there we go.
So it's week 5 of the NFL. Myself and Mike from Mykel Sports are here to recap all the games, including the Packers and the Raiders, which we will cover middle of the pack here, literally and figuratively. Mike's game was outrageous, but good for him, and the Raiders game was just not good. Not good as a Raiders fan, but overall, it was a good week of football. I thought there really wasn't but nothing really crazy happened, which sucks. Like everyone kind of won that was supposed to win. I mean, I guess you could say, well, no, I was going to say maybe Arizona with San Francisco, but Arizona,
They're undefeated.
I think they were supposed to win that game with Trey Lance in there. You understand what I'm saying? And the Broncos and the Steelers, maybe that was an upset, maybe. But other than that, there wasn't really anything crazy in my opinion. But still, it was a good week of football. Yeah. There were some really good games, and some teams came and showed what they're worth, and some teams kind of folded a little bit. But whatever. Before we get into everything, as usual, guys, thank you guys for watching. Do us a favor while you're watching. Remember, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to myself and Mike here. We will. Michael J. Evans says, "Good evening, Big Tuna and Mike." Mike, how you doing? He's always here. He's a good dude. He friended me on Facebook, like legit.
Loyal fan of the channel.
He legitimately friended me on Facebook. I was like, oh shit, okay. I didn't know my real life. My real life is not that exciting. So, But overall, like I said, like, subscribe, and comment as much as you want. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible. We know it might not be a big showing with Monday Night Football between the Ravens and the Colts. What do you think about that game?
We'll see. I got the Ravens winning. I just think that Lamar Jackson's too good. The Colts are just having a rough season. I don't think they're a bad football team. Their schedule hasn't been that great, so they're going to be losing lots of games.
I think that I think that overall that Indianapolis's offense will get there, but it's just not there yet. It'll get there. I think it will. But moving on to the games that happened, the early game in London, which I hate to say it, but they know the Jets were going to suck this year, and they didn't know the Cardinals were going to be that bad. But why schedule this game?
See, that's the funny thing is like they're trying to get people to be fans of the NFL from places that, they're not really that big on American football.
No.
Why are they showing not the Colts, the Jets and the Falcons? That just makes sense to me. It's like you're picking two of the, let's be honest, two of the lamest teams. Like even teams that are bad with a good market could have been better. Like the Giants. The Giants are terrible, but the market of the Giants is great.
Yeah. It's bigger than the Jets for sure.
They're the little sister of New York. You know what I mean? So it's like
I have to think there's like an underlining thing that says, I understand with all the teams, like we're not going to bring over the marquee teams because sometimes those games screw teams' seasons up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're not going to bring over the Chiefs versus the Bills.
Yeah.
You're going to get Jets, Falcons. You're going to get Miami.
Just the lame games. Yeah.
I think Miami. Well, no, I think Miami. I think they played the Bills there. So they did bring the Bills over there.
Are you sure? I don't know if they do a divisional game over in a different.
Let's see.
Neutral site.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's Miami Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah, so that makes more sense.
They wouldn't do a divisional game over there because that you lose your advantage that way.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Like you play them twice in a year, and it's like that's your advantage. But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
but overall, the game was 27-20. The Falcons were up 20-3 going into halftime. Then the Jets got a little bit of spark in the fourth quarter, but it got too little too late. Stats-wise, Wilson had 192 and an interception. Both Carter and Johnson had rushing touchdowns. Corey Davis, the leading receiver per usual at 40, but only with 45 yards. Keelan Cole, who I'm a big fan of, always have been, had 38 yards. And Braxton Berrios, who was he was like a fantasy waiver guy. He only had 6 yards. So he's, on defense, there's no interceptions, no sacks either. So, One fumble recovery by Lawson there, but nothing crazy there. On Atlanta's side, Matt Ryan had a really good day, 345 and 2 touchdowns. Cordell Patterson is becoming one of the better flex players out there overall.
He's just an overall unit.
Yeah, he had 54 yards rushing and 60 yards receiving. Mike Davis had a running touchdown. Kyle Pitts got his first touchdown as a professional, which was good to see. Nothing really. Well, Hayden Hurst had a touchdown as well. Let's see here. Mariner had a sack. Oh my God, I don't even know how to pronounce that last name. Odejui had a sack, and Hawkins had an interception here. So, not much to really talk about with this game, but we got to talk about it. So you start off.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan, he was absolutely slinging. Like we've said pretty much all season, Matt Ryan is not a bad quarterback, and the Falcons aren't a non-talented team. I think they've got a lot of talent all around. They're just not really able to get a lot of wins. Obviously, you're playing the Jets. You have a better chance at winning against the Jets if you play this good. Cordell Patterson, like you said, he's just balling out. He's receiving the ball. He's running the ball, doing everything that he can for the Falcons. He's been one of the bright spots on their offense. As far as the Jets go, Zach Wilson was really bad in the first half, played pretty good in the second half, kind of a lot like last week against the Titans where he plays bad in the first half, kind of starts to get it going in the second. He led the comeback effort last week. He does the same this week, except they fall just a little bit short. Kyle Pitts, he's starting to get better every single week. Last week, he got a little bit better. This week, he was awesome. He had a touchdown. Good win for the Falcons. Hopefully, they can get some more under their belt. It's going to take a while for the Jets. Hopefully, they can get it going eventually. I like Robert Saleh a lot. I'm not that big on Zach Wilson. I don't think that he's that great of a quarterback. I think he'll be out of there before too long. But I don't really have.
You never know. He might develop with.
And I don't have anything against the guy. I'm not saying I want him to fail. Like, there's definitely some players in the NFL that I'm like, not really a big fan of this guy. I just don't think Zach Wilson's that good, but we never know. He could turn out to be amazing. I thought Patrick Mahomes wasn't that good either coming out of college, but we all know where that happened or what happened there. But
listen, the only thing I'll say about that is, this year, the quarterbacks really haven't shown anything. Maybe Mac Jones a little bit, but watching Fields, even though he beat the Raiders, he was not impressive.
Right.
Trevor Lawrence has shown ugly, ugly throws.
Yeah.
Trey Lance has maybe looked the best out of all of them.
But he's only played one game. So.
Yeah, but man, Mac Jones overall right now, I don't even know who the rookie of the year should be right now, honestly. I have no idea.
Probably Jamar Chase out of Cincinnati.
Yeah, I would guess. Yeah, because he's a freak, and that we'll talk about that when we get to that game. Next, we've got the Saints. Jameis Winston had 4 touchdowns to beat Washington, who has been very disappointing overall, especially on defense. Defense has been really bad for them, but New Orleans ended up scoring 13 points in the fourth to seal it there for them. On the Washington side, Heineke had 248, 2 picks, but he had 40 rushing yards. Gibson had 60 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's see. On the receiving side, Adam Humphries comes out of nowhere with 73 yards receiving. Terry McLaurin had 46. Seals Jones is still in the NFL with 41 yards receiving. I had no idea he was still in the NFL. On the defensive side, Payne had a sack. Chase Young had a sack. Holcomb had an interception as well. On the New Orleans side, like I said, Jameis Winston threw for 279, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Alvin Kamara had 71 yards rushing, 1 touchdown rushing, 51 yards receiving with a touchdown. So he did what he was supposed to do. Mr. Callaway had 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Harris had himself 1 catch for 71 yards and a touchdown. So he had a nice day, only doing it 1 time. Davis had a sack. Granderson had a sack. Williams had an interception, and so did Adebo. So this game here, I mean, yeah, the Saints are doing better than I thought, and the Washington is really disappointing in my opinion.
Yeah, Washington is not having a good year. I mean, in all honesty, as far as that defense goes, the defensive line is good. You can definitely see throughout the games that they're putting a little bit of pressure on the quarterbacks. I wish that they were doing better, but overall, that defense is atrocious. The offense is bad. I mean, Scary Terry is all that Washington offense has.
I'll disagree with you. What about Logan Thomas when he's healthy? I think
Yeah.
Logan Thomas
is he hurt right now?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Logan Thomas is good too, but it seems like maybe that's why I haven't seen much of Logan Thomas is because he's hurt. But as of late, Scary Terry has been all that they've had. I don't think Heineke is that great. I think there's plenty of backup quarterbacks out there that are better than him. Mitch Trubisky's one of those guys that I think could be better than Taylor Heineke, but overall, I mean, you look at Jameis Winston, and what you see from Jameis Winston is what you're going to get. He's going to throw ugly, nasty, stupid interceptions, and then he's going to throw some dimes. This guy was throwing darts, and then he was throwing farts. And I know that that's a little silly, but I mean, that's how Jameis Winston is. He does great sometimes, and he does terrible sometimes. Overall, I mean, they won by 11 points. It felt a little bit closer than that, but the Saints clearly had a lot of momentum throughout this entire game. Good win for the Saints. Washington's got to pick it up, man.
Yeah, no, they're not going to make the playoffs because Dallas is a lot better than I thought they would be, especially their defense is not doing that bad. I thought their defense would hurt them, but their defense is fine. Overall, New Orleans should have beat Washington the way that Washington's playing. But I look at Washington as one of those teams that the reason that the quarterback and the offense isn't that great is because they focus so much on that D. And I don't mean dick. I mean defense,
Defense.
And and they're disappointing. They really are. They're very disappointing right now. They're getting sacks, but they're not disrupting like they did last year.
Right.
They were the reason why they made the playoffs last year. I mean, but this year it's just kind of like, well, with Fitzpatrick getting hurt in the beginning of the season, that hurt the offense huge because they were relying on him. And with the defense not showing up as much as they should, I think hurts them even more. And New Orleans was going to give them a tough shot. And my big question here is, Jameis Winston was 50%. He threw 15 for 30. Right. Is he the answer to Sean Payton's offense? Do you think he's going to be there?
I think he's a good short-term answer. I think for right now, the way that the Saints are, that's not a championship team anyway. So having Jameis Winston in there right now, it's really not – it's not great, but it's not terrible. It's not like they have a bad quarterback and that they're going to be picking top five. I mean, this is a team that's going to compete for the wild card. I think he's good for right now, but if they're going to want to win a Super Bowl, they got to get a better roster. Mykel Thomas has got to get healthy again.
Yeah.
Then I think that maybe they go get a guy that's good enough. But the question is if Jameis Winston is going to keep them mediocre, right? Or if they're going to keep them at a wild card team, kind of like Mitch Trubisky was with the Bears. And I don't think that was all his fault. And I don't think that Winston is that kind of a player. But if Jameis Winston can only keep them in the wild card and they got a championship roster built around him, then it's kind of like, maybe time to move on. But as of right now, I think it's fine.
You got Alvin Kamara there, but you don't have your best receiver there. And that's the thing. And I think when Mykel Thomas comes back, that's going to show if Jameis Winston's here to play or not.
Right.
In all honesty. Because if he can't succeed with Mykel Thomas there, it's like, okay, maybe they need to look someplace else. And that's just football in general. So next game we got, and we're going to talk about Dan Campbell because you put something on Twitter that, it got me in the feels a little bit when I watched his press conference. But so the Lions versus the Vikings beat the Lions set 19-17. The Lions score the go-ahead touchdown with 37 seconds left. Their defense makes a mistake, lets the Vikings get field goal range, and they lose last second. Overall, I watched most of this game. It was just it was a defensive game in a way. It was a little bit sloppy for Detroit. Jared Goff threw for 203 and an interception. He was sacked 4 times. Williams ran for 57 yards and caught for 80. Then Swift had 51 yards rushing and a touchdown and also 53 yards receiving. He's starting to turn into a better, kind of a flex player, kind of like Cordell Patterson. St. Brown, brother there, he was the leading receiver with 7 catches for 65 yards. Looks like he learned a little bit.
There's 3 of the St. Brown brothers.
But it just looks like the one you guys drafted from Notre Dame just didn't get it, and these guys are getting it. Cephas had 38 yards receiving. On defense, you had 1 sack by Flowers, you had 1 sack by Harris, and you had an interception by Anzalone there on Detroit. For Minnesota, Kirk Cousins threw for 275, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Madison had 113 yards rushing, 40 yards receiving with a touchdown. On the passing side, Jefferson had himself a really good game, 7 catches for 124. Thielen had 40 yards receiving. And on the defensive side, you had sacks, 2 from Everson Griffin, 1 from Hunter, and interceptions by Kendricks there. So, yeah, it was a heartbreaker for Detroit because they did everything right except for they made one big mistake in that final drive to lose. And, that Dan Campbell press conference was just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel so bad for the Lions. As far as the game goes, though, like you said, Jefferson was balling out from the jump. I think, like, the first drive of the game, he was getting big receptions, lots of yards and stuff, and it just continued throughout the entire game. But with his success, the Vikings really didn't put up a lot of points on the board. They had struggled to put TDs on the board, along with the Lions. Obviously, they didn't win the game, so they obviously scored less points.
They've been struggling all year.
Right. And I mean, it was a resilient effort by the Lions. Man, that's heartbreaking, though. Like, to lose, like, okay, they lost to the Packers. They got blown out by we won like 30-something to 17. They lost in week 1 to the 49ers. They didn't really get blown out, but they were getting blown out and then kind of had to come back. But they've lost 2 games on game-winning field goals to end it, where they were so close to winning, so close to getting an upset win over good teams. I mean, they almost upset the Ravens, who are actually, I think, a really good team, the week after they beat Kansas City. They almost upset the Minnesota Vikings at home. So, I mean, it's heartbreaking, and I feel so bad for Dan Campbell. I hope that he gets some success in Detroit. I think that it's going to come eventually, especially if they obviously they have to keep him there. We're going to see, but man, I just feel so bad for the Lions. We hate everybody in the division. There's a little bit of a soft spot for the Brett Favre era in Minnesota for some fans, but the Lions, man, you just feel bad for them. Gosh, you just feel bad for the Lions.
Yeah, no, it's and you know what, that's football, and those are games where you can learn to be better. And it'll happen. The team will get better. They've got a quarterback. They've got 2 running backs now. Cephas has turned into a decent receiver. Hawkinson's a good tight end. They just got to put it all together, and it starts on defense. And defense, wins and loses games sometimes, and this time they lost it, But I think if this team is getting to, like, if they get to 8-8, in the next year or so, then Dan Campbell will just keep on having, having a job. It's going to be tough to fire that guy. It really
in 2 years, we're going to be looking at Dan Campbell going, look, he's gotten this many more wins every year. It's like, hey, last year he got 3 wins. This year he's got 7 wins. This year he's got 9 wins. And I think that Dan Campbell's going to make that team get better and better and better every single year. Hopefully.
And he was a tight end, I believe, in the NFL, so he'll know. And he'll be able to find offensive linemen and stuff that are good because he had to learn how to block as well. So, and their offensive line struggles a little bit. But next game we got Denver goes to Pittsburgh and loses 27-19. They tried to come back in the fourth quarter with 13 points, but it was a little too late. Teddy Bridgewater threw for 288, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Williams had 61 yards rushing. Gordon had 34. Cortland Sutton there had 120 yards and a touchdown. Hinton had a touchdown. And Patrick had 89 yards receiving. On the defensive side, Reed had a sack. And there was no interceptions there for Denver. On the Pittsburgh side, Big Ben threw for 253 and 2 touchdowns. Harris had a great game with 122 and a touchdown. Claypool had 5 receptions for 130 yards and a touchdown. Johnson had a touchdown. On the defensive side, they had interception from Pierre, and they had sacks from Mondu there and Devin Bush. But the big news is that Juju Smith-Schuster is out for the season. with the shoulder injury. They thought it was what it was, but yeah, I mean, but then again, let's be honest, Juju really hasn't done anything for them this year, so it's not really as long as they have Claypool and Deontay Johnson there. And the other thing too is I do not understand how Big Ben is not using Ebron more. It must just be I don't get that. Ebron had such a great year with Andrew Luck, and then he fell apart. It was just Ebron. I thought was going to have a great rest of his career, and then everything kind of fell apart for him, And I actually thought that in Pittsburgh, because he used Heath Miller so well, that he was going to love Ebron, but it's just not the same, But Broncos kind of come back to life, and now they're 3-2, and they started out 3-0. I know another team that started like that too, but we'll get to that.
A few teams that did that. But yeah, I mean, as far as it goes, Chase Claypool had a great game. That sucks that Juju's out. This is his last year on contract. I mean, last year was his last year on contract. He signed a 1-year extension or just a 1-year deal, I guess, because of the salary cap issues, this and that. And he's probably going to leave for a bigger market next year because we all know Juju's social media appearance and all this and that and whatever that he does. He has a lot of fans. Get that guy in a bigger market than Pittsburgh. And you know what I mean? See where that goes. Probably going to be like New York or LA or something.
Yeah, he's going to get a big contract from a team where Pittsburgh's just not going to play him. I just think that unfortunately it's just not going to. It does because they have replacements there. It's kind of like the Antonio Brown situation. At that point, they had Juju. But it's just kind of like But overall, Denver kind of came back to whatever. Yeah. And Pittsburgh needed this win. If they went to 1-4, Mike Tomlin's, his seat would be very hot if they get to 1-4 because how good Cincinnati and Cleveland is. I can't believe I'm saying that. How good Cincinnati and Cleveland are playing right now is a big reason why they needed to win this game.
And the Broncos actually looked pretty good throughout the entire game. They just, and I say this every single week. I say it about the Colts more than any team, but the Broncos needed to finish their drives and touchdowns. They finished way too many drives in field goals, and that's the reason that they lost this game. I think that they're the better team. I think that they're actually a really good team, but they didn't finish their drives and touchdowns. The defense killed themselves with penalties throughout the game. Big Ben actually had a really good game, and his weapons helped him out a lot. Najee Harris is starting to get it going a little bit, but hey, what can you do? Big Ben and the Steelers, maybe they can get something rolling and not be at the bottom, but we'll see. I think that the Broncos are going to be able to turn it around. They have to beat contenders. I mean, they lost to the Raiders the Ravens last week, and then the Steelers this week. Those are two teams that are kind of in the middle. I think the Ravens are a little bit higher, obviously, than the Steelers, but overall, they have to beat teams that are good. They haven't done that yet. I still think that they're going to end up being a good team. So
yeah, we'll see. Pittsburgh's always there. Every year they're always there. Next game we got is and with Juju, like you said, I think he's just going to end up somewhere. It's just not going to be, and he might end up being, wherever he goes, unless I don't know. Unless he can find a place where somebody gets good chemistry with somebody, because he's lost it with Big Ben.
Well, hey, I mean, I know that they're playing in Carolina, but him and Sam Darnold are pretty close. He wanted to get Sam Darnold to Pittsburgh, right? Because him and Sam Darnold
to SC. Carolina would be a good fit for him. You're right. They got a couple receivers, but nobody is potentially as good as Juju is. Right. Next game we got the Titans take care of business, beating Jacksonville and hand them their 20th straight loss, which is just tough. 37-19. It wasn't really much. It was a little close in the beginning, but then all of a sudden it was Derrick Henry's show. Ryan Tannehill threw for 197 and one touchdown. Derrick Henry had 130 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. On the receiving side, A.J. Brown had 38 yards receiving. Pruitt had a receiving touchdown. Marcus Johnson had 3 catches for 52 yards. Julio did not play. Landry had 2 sacks. Bayard had an interception. On the Jacksonville side, Trevor Lawrence threw for 237. One touchdown, one interception. Also ran for 28 yards and a touchdown. Robinson had 149 and a touchdown, which he's kind of coming into his own finally. After that Cincinnati game, he's really starting to play better. Arnold had 64 yards receiving, and Hollister had one receiving touchdown. Allen had half a sack. Chason had one. Smoot had a sack and a half, and there were no interceptions in this game. So it was a classic Titans win, in my opinion. They just ran the ball.
Yeah, well, and what's crazy is that Jacksonville actually kept it close for a little while, but the Titans are just a much better team. Robinson getting loose a little bit for the Jags. And Trevor Lawrence honestly looks really good as well. I mean, he did have the pick at the end of the game, but I get it. It's like you're trying to force a touchdown at the end. So I get that pick. I give him 100% excuse on that one. I mean, you'd like to look a little bit better on that last play. But, hey, what can you do? But he's starting to look a little bit better every single week. The Jags are progressing a lot. And that's the thing with teams like the Jaguars, like the Lions, like the Texans, all these teams that are honestly bottom feeder teams, terrible teams. You just have to look at it like, hey, did they play better than they did last week? I know that they got beat by, they got beat by 20-something points. I know that they got beat bad, but they looked a lot better than they did last week, and they looked a lot better than they did the week before, and the week before that, and the week before that. So lots of positives for the Jaguars. The Titans just took care of business the way that they had to, and it is what it is on that side.
Yeah, they had to win that game because after losing to the Jets, you had to put up some numbers.
Well, I started to get worried for a little bit. I was watching a little bit of that game.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
But
I understand.
The Jaguars are going to Jaguars. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but true. Next, we've got Philly, who beats Carolina at home, 21-18. Jalen Hurts had 2 touchdowns in this game, rushing, and they ended up coming back. I believe it was 15-6 at halftime, and then Philly ended up scoring a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to get above them, 21-18. Stats-wise, Philly, Jalen Hurts threw for 198 and an interception, but also had 30 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Miles Sanders had 45 yards rushing. Devontae Smith doing very well, I think, as a rookie receiver, had 77 yards receiving. On the defensive side, you had Sweat, Hargrave, and Fox all get sacks. You had Slay have 2 interceptions and Nelson have 1, which means that Sam Darnold threw for 177, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks. Chuba Hubbard, I love that name, rushed for 101 yards and received for 33. Moore had 42 yards receiving. Ian Thomas had 40 yards receiving, and Tremble had a receiving touchdown. Reddick had 2 sacks, and Dante Jackson had the interception. But yeah, so poor play by Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And,
let's be honest. It is definitely October, and it is Halloween season because the ghosts are back for Sam Darnold. This Ghostbusters offense has done terrible these last 2 weeks. They only put up 18 points against the Philadelphia Eagles defense that I honestly don't think is that good. Overall, Philly definitely did their thing, forcing Sam Darnold to throw the picks. Jalen Hurts did his part. I think that those offensive weapons that the Eagles have are really, really good. The Panthers D just did not show up late in this game. The Eagles put the pressure on late. Special teams was huge for the Eagles to win this game.
Yep.
I was really conflicted going into this game. I thought the Panthers had it easily, but I knew that those young weapons over in Philly were going to be able to do what they could to make it a good game, and they did, and they ended up winning it. So overall, I think the Eagles are still out of the division. I think that the Cowboys are going to run away with it. The Panthers are hurting their playoff chances a little bit by losing these games. So
that's a game they need to win. Yeah, Philly is such an enigma. You don't know what Philly team you're going to get. You really don't. It's just – but I will say this. In the games where they're even somewhat right, they're competitive. But, and Jalen Hurts, he's maturing. as a passer, but he's going to start taking his lumps, and he's taking them, but he's getting up, and he's just,
Right.
But overall, you got to be happy for the Eagles. You got to be happy with the Devontae Smith maturation because a lot of people did not like that pick because of how his size and stuff, but the guy's versatile, and him and Rager might be able to be a nice 1-2 punch for Hurts. So we'll see what happens. And I've always been not a fan of Sam Darnold for a long time, so I'm not surprised by the way he's playing, but he's got to turn it around or else he's going to lose this job too, and it's just
– man, the ghosts are back.
Yeah. Next, we got Tampa Bay smacking around Miami, even though going into the second quarter, Miami was up 10-7. They end up beating them 45-17. Tom Brady just dominated it. It's just crazy. He's 40-4 and dominating. Jacoby Brissett threw for 275, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Gaskin ran the ball 5 times for 25 yards. Gaskin also had 10 receptions for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. Williams had 60 yards receiving. On the defensive side, Baker had a sack, Phillips had a sack, and there were no interceptions. On the Tampa side, Tom Brady freaking had 411 yards and 5 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette had 67 yards and a rushing touchdown. Antonio fucking Brown had 7 catches for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans had 6 catches for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. Godwin had 70 yards receiving. This is just outrageous. Bernard had a receiving touchdown as well, so they got 3 good running backs. On defense, Barrett had a sack and a half. David had a sack. Dean had an interception. So looking at the stat line for Tampa Bay, it's like a freaking all-star lineup. It's just amazing. I hate to say this, but if they continue to play well, they're just going to win the Super Bowl again?
We'll see. We'll see. I think that the Rams are a really good team, and they'll be able to stop them. I'm not really buying into Arizona, even though they are 5-0. I'm not really buying into them because, the Steelers were 11-0 last year, and what happened to them. So I don't know. We'll see. As far as this game goes, though, Brissett kind of kept the Dolphins in this thing for a little while. They had life early, but business is a booming down in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady and Antonio Brown were absolutely rolling this game. I know that the Raiders fans hate to see that, especially, and Steelers fans too. They're hating to see that as well. It was a really good game until the fourth quarter, but Tampa's offense is just too good. It took a little bit of a long time, or not a little bit of a long time, but it took a while for the Bucs defense to finally get it going, but that D-line put the pressure on in the fourth quarter, leading them to this victory. Tampa Bay is really good. I think they're going to win that division easily. They might even end up with the highest seed in the playoffs or on the NFC side, but we'll see. I still think the Packers have a good shot to win the Super Bowl and beat the Tampa Bay Bucs in the playoffs. I also think the Rams have that kind of a shot too. Maybe the Cowboys get an upset. So I don't think it's 100% for certain that they're going to go all the way, but they do look really good.
Really good is an understatement. I think Tom Brady just loses throughout the season just to lose. Yeah. And, just to make sure that everything's kind of okay, that shows that maybe Tampa can lose. And then he just turns it on and they turns it off. It's just what we are seeing is the greatest quarterback that's ever played in the NFL. Ever.
In terms of what? Like success, career-wise?
Everything. Passing yards, passing touchdowns,
okay, but wins. In terms of talent, I don't have him top 5.
I just
think the most talented quarterbacks of all time.
But talent is nothing. And he can't run worth shit. But he's just great. And I know that he's got an all-star team.
He doesn't have the best arm strength.
I know that he's got the all-star team or whatever, but that's not his fault.
Right.
That's good management. You can't be upset with them. You can't be upset that it's funny, he's finally got a good receiving group for once.
Right.
You know, when he had Randy Moss and Wes Welker and Dante Stallworth, that was a great receiving group too. But other than that, he was winning with Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, and Chad Ochocinco. And you know what I'm saying? It's just, it's whatever. One comment I did say was Charlie Freak asked, what jersey are you wearing?
Do you know who it is?
Navarro.
It's Steve Tasker of the Buffalo Bills.
Oh. I thought that was Navarro.
Steve Tasker, Buffalo Bills. He was a big special teams guy. That's kind of what I did in high school. I was on punt team and kickoff team. Like that's pretty much exclusively what I did in high school. And so I was like, man, Steve Tasker, this is what he used to do. That's all he did was get tackles on punt and kickoff. So I was like, I gotta get a Tasker jersey, bro. That was my player comp in high school.
Yeah.
So I had to. I love Steve Tasker. Shout out.
Let me see here. Matthew J. Evans said, when we were talking about Brady, Eagles agreed Big Tuna championships, passing yards, passing touchdowns. Then he said, WTF, he has talent, damn it. He does have talent, but overall.
I mean, I can think of 5 guys right now off the spot that are more talented than Tom Brady. Maybe 4.
But talent doesn't win you shit.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Is like in every single thing except for talent, it's not Brady. Or wait, no, sorry, it is Brady except for talent. In terms of talent, Rodgers is more talented. Marino was more talented. Troy Aikman was more talented. I mean,
I don't know about Troy Aikman, but I agree with Marino. I agree about Rodgers. Maybe Peyton Manning a little bit.
Peyton Manning was hella accurate. Drew Brees was insanely accurate.
True.
Brady is great. And I mean, you don't win 7 Super Bowls by not being a talented quarterback. He's
also been in the league for what, 22 years? Bro, that's the other thing too. Yeah.
He's been here forever. Of course he's gonna break all these records.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he took Drew Brees' passing yards record or touchdowns record recently.
Both.
Well, which one was most recent? That was the yardage.
Passing yards, yeah.
40. He's played 44 more games than Drew Brees, which that's not his fault. I'm not trying to fault him, but it's like he's played 44 more games, so it's like,
yeah, I get it.
Maybe I'm just a Tom Brady hater. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I'm not a Bills fan, by the way. I'm not.
I don't love Tom Brady either. It's just I respect greatness when I respect greatness.
I respect his legacy. He's not the most talented quarterback ever, though.
Ben Bartel says, Kason told me to sub you. No idea who Kason is, but thank you to whoever you subbed.
That's my little brother, Kason.
Oh, okay. Good man. Kason. Good man. All right, speaking of Tom Brady, the Patriots almost lose to the Texans, but they end up winning in the end. There was actually a New England fan at work today, and he was pissed about it. But I was kind of like, well, you can also fucking, not win like the Raiders did. I mean, I don't know. Fuck you, dude. But the Houston Texans, Mills ended up he threw for 312 yards and 3 touchdowns, was pretty damn good. But they missed 2 extra points. Ingram had 41 yards rushing. Moore had 109 yards and a touchdown. Conley had 84 yards and a touchdown. And Auclair had a receiving touchdown. On the defensive side, Grenard had a sack. And Johnson had an interception. For New England, Mac Jones threw for 231, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Harris had 58 yards and a touchdown. Bolden had 25 yards rushing. Hunter Henry, ladies and gentlemen, had 75 yards and a touchdown. Myers had 56 yards. Nelson Aguilar had 3 catches for 32 yards. How about that $15 million, New England? He won't last this whole contract with that team. They're going to end up getting rid of him. He's doing nothing compared to what he did with the Raiders.
Right.
Let's see here. Juden, who's been doing really well for the Patriots, had 2 sacks. Collins, is that Jamie Collins? Oh, my God. Jamie Collins back with the Patriots, had a sack. And there was no interceptions for the Patriots there. And there shouldn't be because they got rid of their best fucking defender. But so this game was kind of like no one talked about it, but still it happened. Patriots are 2-3.
Yeah. Well, I agree with Matthew J. Evans where, hey, why would you be pissed off? A win is a win. And I agree. I mean, you could be playing the best team in the NFL and beat them by 30. Or you could be playing the worst team in the NFL and only win by 3. But guess what? A win is 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 a win. In 5, 6, 7 weeks, whenever the playoff race gets close and, hey, the Patriots are competing for a playoff spot, a wild card spot, no one's going to be saying, oh, well, they only beat the Texans by 3 points. So they're going to say, hey, look, they have this many wins, and this win matters for them. But overall, I mean, Davis Mills and the Texans looked really good through 3 quarters. I mean, they looked like the better team through 3 quarters. The offense just kind of died out in the fourth. It took a little while for the Patriots, but they woke up late in the third quarter and then played really good in the fourth. This really boils down to, and I know we haven't gotten to the worst of kicking because kicking was really bad this weekend, but Fairbairn, the kicker for the Texans, was bad. I mean, he was atrocious. They probably would have won this game if he made all of his kicks. In fact, I think they would have won this game. If I do the math on it correctly, they would have won this game if he makes every single one of those kicks. So it really boils down to that. As far as the Texans go, they have a really long way to go. Tyrod Taylor not being there hurts them. Deshaun Watson not being there really hurts them. Davis Mills is starting to play a little bit better. I mean, he looked good last week or this past week. So we'll see how all that goes. But overall, yeah, I mean, not really a great game. A good comeback for the Patriots. But, yeah, I mean, a win is a win for the Patriots. You can't be too mad about it. So,
yeah. By the way, Monday Night Football update. The Colts are up 7-0 in the beginning of the second quarter.
Bad for my prediction, but –
yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Packers here. Packers win in overtime, 25-22. They had the lead throughout the whole game, and they were covering. And because I bet them, they didn't fucking cover. But they ended up winning. The Cincinnati Bengals get a touchdown late in the fourth quarter to tie it. And then a lot of bad kicking happened, but then they ended up kicking field goal in the end to win it. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow threw for 281, 2 touchdowns, but one of those interceptions was horrible. That was in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, it was like he thought his receiver, so the receiver kind of stood there, right? And you played quarterback, if the quarterback is in the pocket and nothing is happening, right? But the receiver is standing there, you got to make a move. Make it easier on your quarterback. Burrow thought he was going to go inside. He went outside instead. It was a terrible throw nonetheless. I mean, It would have been a pick even if the guy went inside. Burrow thought he was going to go inside. He threw it. I don't even know what he was thinking. That's just what I'm thinking he was thinking. Yeah, that was atrocious. Oh, that was so bad. Felt so bad for him. I was like, ugh.
P. Ryan had 59 yards rushing, 24 yards receiving, and a touchdown. Joe Mixon had 33 yards rushing and a touchdown. Jamar Chase had 6 catches for 159 and a touchdown. On defense, there was 2 sacks by Hendrickson and an interception by Woozy. On the Packers side, Aaron Rodgers threw for 344, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Aaron Jones had 103 rushing. A.J. Dillon had 79 overall yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams had 11 catches for 205 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, Barnes had a sack, as well as Preston Smith, and Amos and Campbell had interceptions. What a crazy game.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This was a super crazy game. It was rough for the kickers, for sure. I feel bad for Mason Crosby because this guy's a legend. I mean, this guy has been with the Packers for years on years on years. He's the greatest kicker in our franchise history. He's a top 10 kicker of all time in my eyes. So throughout the game, a lot of people were mad at Mason Crosby. You know what I said? I actually tweeted it. I think, after he missed the last one he missed, right as I guess right after the Packers got the ball, I said, I swear to God, I still trust Mason Crosby. I still trusted Mason Crosby. It was 4th and long.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it was 4th and long. Rodgers threw a dime to Randall Cobb over the middle. I still think he had the first down. They didn't give him the first down. I said, you know what? Mason Crosby's going to nail this kick, and he did. So I was glad to see that. Overall, the Bengals' defense is solid. This is a really good Bengals team that I think is mad underrated, arguably the most underrated team in the NFL. They are not getting talked about enough. Devontae Adams is a freak of nature wide receiver. So glad that we have him, even though if it's only for 1 year. I know that he wants to play with Derek Carr again someday, so we might.
That's never going to happen.
You don't think that's going to happen? Do you think that he'll leave the Packers this year?
No, he'll leave the Packers, but there's no way the Raiders can afford him.
Oh yeah, that's true too. I mean, this guy's he's the best receiver in football, so he's wanting to get paid like the best receiver in football. Joe Burrow had a good game, just made some costly mistakes. I mean, the worst mistake a quarterback could make, you throw a pick on like the second play of the game. I mean, that was crazy. So, or the second play of the overtime, that was just terrible. But overall, great win for the Packers. Like I said, a win is 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 a win, especially on the road against a good team like Cincinnati. I wish Rodgers would have played a little bit better. It seems like he's trying to bait the refs into throwing a penalty on that Awuzie pick. I mean, not bait the refs into throwing a pick, but throwing a flag. But he threw that ball to Devontae Adams, thinking that guy was pressing him. If you throw the ball over there, the attention goes over there. So maybe he was trying to get a flag out of that, but that was a terrible throw. Rodgers has to play better, but overall, I'm not too upset with how he played. Like I said, win's a win's a win's a win, is a win is a win. Go Pack, go! Yeah. We got the Bears this week, so it's Bears hate week, and I'm excited. Talking trash all week to any of you Bears fans.
Yeah, you guys should kill them.
We will. It's not even going to be a contest. It's going to be a snoozer for Packers W.
Well, speaking of the Bears go into Las Vegas and beat the Raiders 20-9. It was a bad offensive game on each side. It's just the Bears scored more. Derek Carr threw for 206 and an interception. Josh Jacobs had 48 yards and a rushing touchdown. Hunter Renfrow led the team with 56 yards receiving. Henry Ruggs also 51 yards receiving. Darren Waller 45 yards receiving. Let's see here. On defense, there had 2 sacks by Yannick Ngakoue. Good for him. Glad that he's gotten some sacks with the team finally. Justin Fields threw for only 111 fucking yards, and we lost, and a touchdown. Herbert and Williams had a rushing touchdown. Herbert had 75 yards rushing, and their leading receiver had 35 yards receiving. The big thing was the sacks. Khalil Mack had a sack. Gibson had a sack. The other Gibson had a sack, and Houston Carson had a sack, and Houston Carson also had an interception. So, listen, everything starts with your lines, your defensive line, your offensive line. Defensive line made a lot of costly mistakes, penalties, roughing the passers. Offensive line can't block. Because they just can't. Yeah. Our first-round pick already looks like a bust. They moved him from tackle to guard this week, and he still got the same penalties.
Really?
False starts, holdings, and the guy they replaced him with gets 2 false starts and 2 holdings. The problem is last year we had an all-pro center who wanted out. We had a Pro Bowl caliber guard in Gabe Jackson. He wanted out, and then Trent Brown wanted out. That's 3 guys that we lost that all were Pro Bowl material, and now we're to nothing. And it all starts with those lines. The defense did not play that bad. They really didn't. Amik Robinson had to fill in for Trayvon Mullen. He did great, in my opinion. But the only positive I can get out of this game as a Raiders fan is the maturity, how good Hunter Renfrow is and needs to get paid. Not big money, but decent money, because he's a slot receiver, but he's reliable. And the maturation of Henry Ruggs has been out of this world compared to what I thought he would be. Henry Ruggs has turned into a good receiver, in my opinion, and he's only going to get better. So it is what it is. The Raiders are 3-2. It doesn't get much easier. They go into Denver next week. I mean, I'm looking at the Vegas lines, and they've got Denver as a 3-point favorite. I think it's an even game. But if it was in Oakland or if it was in Las Vegas, it'd probably be a pick 'em, But overall, it's two teams in Denver and Las Vegas that both were 3-0, and now they're 3-2. So who comes out on top?
Right.
We'll see what happens. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah, this was a really tough game for the Raiders. I think that the Raiders are a good football team. They're going to have a good game next week against the Broncos, but they just seem off right now. They're not bad. They just seem like they're having problems right now. Both offensive lines are disappointing me for these teams. I'm glad that the Bears' offensive line is doing bad, but I'd like to see the Raiders' offensive line step up and be good. I know that they lost some guys, but hey, you still got to step up and do your job. Bears defense is obviously still really good. Not a bad defense at all. Fields does fine. He didn't really have the best of games. Didn't have a terrible game, but didn't have a good game. He got
for 111 yards. He didn't do anything.
He didn't make many mistakes, is what I'm saying.
No, he didn't.
He didn't play necessarily terrible. He wasn't good, but he wasn't terrible. He did basically what he had to do. And the defense did what they had to do.
The defense took care of business, yeah.
Right. Essentially, he just kind of managed the game and didn't mess it up for the Bears. But tough loss for the Raiders. We'll see. This next week's going to be tough to predict. So,
if the Raiders go 8-8 or less this year, after starting 3-0, I really think Mark Davis is going to think about getting rid of John Gruden, but not just John Gruden, but Mike Mayock as well. It just might be time to go. The first time ever GM thing just didn't work.
I never understood why Mike Mayock was hired as a GM. Did he ever coach in the league? Does he have any? He's the mock draft guy, and so
that's pretty much it, brother.
I never understood that.
And he's horrible at drafting.
Yeah, that's what I always thought was weird too. Is he drafted Cleveland Farrell with his first pick as the GM.
Ever. Yeah.
He drafted God, that is so bad. It's okay. We drafted Tony Mandarich ahead of Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, Derek.
No, I get it.
So
I get it.
I'm not going to rag on the Raiders too much for drafting.
But it's just so funny that I always remember that Cleveland Farrell just looking shocked, being like, "Where am I going? Number 4?
I'm the fourth pick but this guy wasn't even supposed to be a first rounder. I had that guy. I think I actually did a mock draft that year, and I had him at 30. I think I had him the 36th pick. I had him early second round.
Yeah,
maybe 30th pick. But
then again, Josh Allen really hasn't done much for Tampa either. So it's both those. It would have been him or Allen,
right?
So it's I'm talking about the Jacksonville guy, not Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I
remember that draft. There was those memes. They're like, am I the best quarterback in the – it was Josh Allen. It was like, am I the best quarterback in the draft? They're like, no. He's like, well, I got to be the best Josh in the draft. And then they were talking about Josh Rosen. They're like, no. He's like, well, I got to be the best Josh Allen in the draft. And they're like, still no. Well, actually, yes.
Yeah.
The answer was yes.
But Baker Mayfield still is doing okay. So
and Lamar Jackson. So it's like –
yeah.
Maybe not the best quarterback, but debatably the best quarterback.
Yeah, right. All right. So the Browns and the Chargers combined for 89 points, and the Chargers scored 26 points in the fourth quarter. 26 points. There's a lot of stats to talk about here, so I'm going to turn the hat around for this one. All right, for Cleveland, Baker Mayfield threw for 305 and 2 touchdowns. Chubb had a rushing touchdown. Kareem Hunt had 2. Njoku led the team in receiving that's the first time in forever, with 149 yards and a touchdown. Higgins had a receiving touchdown. Beckham only had 20 yards receiving.
Yeah, he's having some struggles right now.
Yeah. On the defensive side, Myles Garrett, of course, got a sack. So did McDowell. And there was no interceptions thrown. So on the Chargers side, there was 39. So Herbert threw for 398 yards and 4 touchdowns. Also ran for a touchdown. Eckler scored 2 touchdowns rushing and 1 receiving. Mike Williams got me 38 points in fantasy. 8 catches for 165 and 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen had 75 yards receiving. And Parham got himself another touchdown in this game. Derwin James had a sack, and nobody had interception. So, wow, oh, wow, this game was nuts.
Yeah, this was an insanely awesome game. I mean, I had a dog in both on both corners. I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy. I've always loved that guy's energy. Obviously, I'm a huge Justin Herbert fan. Go Ducks!
Yeah.
My Ducks fans are in the are on watching the live. This was a great game, and an even better fourth quarter. Both quarterbacks were balling. Justin Herbert's insane. I mean, in 3 years, this guy could be the best quarterback in the NFL. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Him
and Josh Allen are going to be fighting for it back and forth.
This guy is amazing. I mean, Keenan Allen and Mike Will, they do their thing for the Chargers, and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, they do their thing for the Browns. This was a great game. Both of these teams showed out. You can't really say anything negative about either of these teams. Maybe that the Browns got to close it out late in the fourth if you really want to get picky. Obviously, both of these teams, I think, are clear-cut Super Bowl contenders. Well, this was an awesome game. Nothing you can really say, but this was a great, great game. Both of these quarterbacks, they showed out, and I'm happy because I love both of these quarterbacks. I actually had, once this game began, I think because the Packers had the morning game, so I had my three. So I had 4 Packers jerseys. I've got Favre, Star, and Rodgers, so the holy trinity of our franchise quarterbacks. And then I've got my Hargrave jersey. So I wear one jersey and I hang the other 3 up above the TV. So whenever the Browns and Chargers game was on, I hung my Baker Mayfield jersey and I hung my Justin Herbert jersey on the wall. Both of those guys balled out, so I was excited. Great game. Great game.
John Gruden has informed his Raiders staff that he plans to resign.
Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
What?
No way.
Sweetie, John Gruden just quit.
What do you mean?
He resigned.
Oh, what?
John Gruden?
Yeah, he just resigned from the Raiders. John Gruden has informed his Raiders staff that he plans to resign.
Like, immediately?
Yeah, he's done.
Something must be going on.
Ain't no way.
No, it just came out that he used homophobic slurs and misogynistic comments, says email flagged. So yeah, he got canceled out.
Oh shit! Go eat chicken wings now. Bye.
All right.
What?
Oh my god!
No longer with the Raiders head coach. Oh my, what?
What?
What? What? Oh, that sucks. I mean, does that suck for y'all though? Mariota's out now. I mean, what? I mean, he wanted to play for Gruden, and now he's not there, so there's no reason for. It looks like I'm getting a new Mariota jersey soon.
I can't even.
I
There were
can't.
more emails? There was more emails, apparently. Like, okay, the email that he had, I don't really want to comment too much on it because I want to stick strictly to sports. But the email that he said that was first came out about the guy and his lips or whatever, I mean, that was pretty bad, but that wasn't too bad, right?
So
But
John Gruden, according to the New York Times, John Gruden, a trove of emails in a separate workplace misconduct, previously disclosed racist comments and issued blah, blah, blah. When they were looking through the stuff, he had the coach Raiders casually and frequently unleashed misogynistic and homophobic language over several years to degrade people, blah, blah, blah. He denounced the emergence of women as referees, drafting gay players. Yeah, he's done. He's quitting.
Oh, Gruden, you idiot. John Gruden, such an idiot. Wow. Well, that sucks for him.
So he's got 6 years and $60 million still left on his Gruden contract. Is he going to end up getting – I don't think he's going to get any of it. Urban Meyer should write a thank you note to John Gruden.
For not making him look like the total shit show coach. You better get ready, Big Tuna. They might call you up, have you coach the Raiders.
Yeah, right.
They'll probably take anybody right now. Wow. Crazy. Crazy. Loyal to the soil? Is that a Oakland thing or something? Because Damian Lillard has a song called Loyal to the Soil. That's someone's username. Is that an Oakland thing? I don't know.
Listen, I mean, we can talk about the rest of the games, but this is kind of a different situation.
We can do a quick run through of the games real quick.
So yeah, because I'm gonna have to get off here and then go live again.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. So we only have 3 more games. So.
Yeah, so the 49ers
emails too. I want to see those emails too. God.
I'm getting so many text messages right now. It's insane.
See, I figured it was an Oakland thing. The loyal to the
Well, the one guy up here kept saying that he was out, and I keep looking it up, and then he fucking quit.
He just was like, nah, I'm out. I'm done.
It's got to be. I'm guessing Gus Bradley's going to be our head coach, which means that Derek Carr is not going to be our quarterback next year.
What?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, as soon as we're done with this, I'm putting everybody on your live because people got to hear about it. I'm going to tune into your live as soon as this is over.
Cardinals beat the 49ers 17-10. Cardinals win with a fourth quarter touchdown to take it over. Let's see here. San Fran, Lance had 192 and an interception, and Murray had a touchdown. Go ahead.
Arizona's weapons are looking good. Arizona overall is looking really good. They might have the best core of receivers in the NFL. The 49ers honestly beat themselves up a few times. They had the penalties. It wasn't looking good for the 49ers. San Francisco's defense did make it a very tough game, though. Kyler wasn't as magical as he has been. He had a good game, don't get me wrong, but he just wasn't as magical. Trey Lance has a long way to go. I think Jimmy G wins this game for them. I think Trey Lance didn't play bad, but he definitely looked like a rookie. A veteran wins this game for them. They win this game with Jimmy G at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they would have won the game with Jimmy G. That's all you can say. But, it's just injuries always hurt teams. That's all it is. Speaking of injuries, the Giants lose both their quarterback and their running back. And
Kenny Galladay at receiver. They lost everybody.
Saquon Barkley just needs to quit because he always gets hurt.
I feel so bad for him because he was playing good. He was good last week. He was pretty good up until he got hurt this week. Man.
And all the people that are starting to turn into my live, I will be signing off here and then going live after about the John Gruden thing. So just stay put.
I'm like trying my hardest not to be on Twitter right now, but it's like,
yeah. So I'm actually sad.
Really?
To say it, yeah. But I knew when the emails came out that it was over. I knew it. Because of the way the cancer culture is now, but that's the way it should be.
Yeah. I agree.
If you're a person in the public,
Yeah.
Cowboys put 44 on the Giants. Cowboys are a machine on offense, and it looks like they don't even need the defense, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, and then the big shocker of the night, KC gets the crap.
Real quick. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Giants Cowboys. I know that we're trying to get this.
No, go ahead.
The Giants were really good. They played good until all those injuries started to hit. They lost their quarterback. They lost their running back. They lost their receiver.
Yep.
They honestly kept it close. I think they would have had a shot at making this an insanely good game if all those guys stayed healthy, but the defense wasn't going to stop Dallas. They just poured it on, and they dominated this game offensively. Embarrassing loss for the Giants, but you can't blame them after all those injuries. Tough for the Giants, man. Tough.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know what's going to turn them around.
John Gruden.
I don't know. John Gruden, yeah, maybe. the problem is, and the thing is, he loved being a Raider. And this is probably killing him. His son is the strength and conditioning coach.
I wonder what that means for him. God. One more game.
He can never go back. He can never do anything now.
Y'all season's probably over.
Yeah. And the big surprise of the night to me was that Buffalo beat the Chiefs. I mean, it was just Buffalo just beat the shit out of the Chiefs. There was no, and there was nothing except for that. I mean, freaking Josh Allen threw for 315 yards on 15 completions for 3 touchdowns. And he ran for a touchdown as well. Zach Moss had 37 yards rushing. Knox, who started to turn into a really good tight end there, he had 117 and a touchdown. Emmanuel Sanders had two touchdowns. People always made fun of me about Emmanuel Sanders. I said, don't give up on Emmanuel Sanders. He always produces no matter where he goes, and look how good he is. Pat Mahomes, who for 272, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, though. Edwards-Helaire got hurt, so there wasn't much rushing going on there. Hardman had 76 yards receiving. Hill had 63. Of course, Travis Kelce catches a touchdown, and so does Pringle. But the Bills are here, man. They lost their first game, and ever since that, they've been killing it.
Right.
Absolutely killing it.
Yeah, the Bills absolutely dominated this game. Josh Allen is good. He was running the ball and throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Great game for Josh Allen, MVP frontrunner in my eyes, at least one of the MVP frontrunners in my eyes.
Yeah.
This game was personal for the Bills. They obviously wanted to win this game big time. Mahomes and KC, they kept it close in the first, but that weather hit, that delay hit, and the Bills came out firing. And he just kind of died down. Buffalo got on Patrick Mahomes' ass. Let's just be honest. They were all over him in that second half, and I think the Bills are honestly the best team in the AFC. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, it's just crazy that the Bills are here. I knew they were going to be good this year, but not this good. They are the number 1 seed in my opinion in the AFC. Yeah. They're better than KC. Them and the Chargers. The Chargers are. It's going to be a fun game if they end up playing in the playoffs.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game. It really is. But
see, this is the year where I feel like the Packers. I think last year I really did think that last year was the year for the Packers. This year I'm kind of like, maybe. If the Packers have to play Justin Herbert in the Super Bowl, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be so conflicted because obviously I want the Packers to win. I mean, I am a Packer fan through and through and through and through. But man, if Justin Herbert's first Super Bowl was against the Packers and he won, I would be so happy for Justin Herbert. I'd be so crushed as a Packers fan.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't happen. I hope it's either us or them, and I hope it's us. But
yeah, right.
I hope it's us. But if it had to be us against them or just them, I would pick just them.
Yeah, I get it.
Hopefully we don't run into that situation.
No, it's a long season to go, brother. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go, but I'm going to go right on to a live after this to talk about John Gruden resigning from the Raiders. So literally within like the next 2 to 3 minutes. I'll be back on here going live for about 15, 20 minutes to talk about it because it's just insane. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. We'll be here next week. Wish Mike a good trip to Oregon. He's going to have a lot of fun. Yep. Crazy night. Night just got crazy. So
in a heartbeat, things got
Raiders starting all over again.
Wow.
But we'll see you guys later. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a couple minutes.
Be on the lookout for NFL predictions every single week with Mykel Sports. Every single week we do NFL predictions on my channel. So this is going to be a tough week to predict. So especially Raiders Broncos, because it's like sometimes when teams fire their head coaches and they have a tough game, sometimes they'll win.
He didn't get fired though.
Or fired. Okay. Anytime they have to have a new head coach on Sunday, they sometimes they do pretty good.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't fire him. That's crazy. He just quit. I mean.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you in a few minutes.